everyone. It's nice to see your smiling faces in this 12-degree weather. Couldn't believe I woke up to like 7 degrees. Anyway, I guess that's climate change for you. So welcome. I'm Bob Careau. I'm the Executive Director of the Schenectady Foundation. And thankfully, my wonderful associate, Sophia Lusick, is going to do the majority of this presentation. But I just want to get us off to a start and welcome everybody and kind of lay out some broad parameters for what we're doing this year in this arena of addressing making Schenectady County more food secure. So welcome again. See a lot of familiar faces. So first, Sophia, why don't you get to page 2 of the slideshow? Okay.
Sorry, just letting one more person in. Okay, all good.
All right, move on. We can move on to the next. All right, so a very small, some of this this morning will be a little bit of a repeat from our Tuesday presentation, but this one will go much deeper into this particular request for proposals to let you understand how this is going to play out and the time frame for that, and kind of understanding what the foundation is looking for in terms of proposals this year. So first, this is our grant making budget for our 3 competitive grant processes this year. Totally, we plan to put out about $2 million. So the remaining, $250,000 that will be spread across a number of different funds and initiatives we have. But these are the primary areas, and we're planning to commit up to $1 million this year. So we're really all in on addressing food security issues. And let me just explain first before we go deeper into this particular process this spring. So the $1 million there'll actually be 2 phases for the entire amount. So in this current cycle, we plan to grant between 600 and up to 700,000. And of course, the exact number will depend on the proposals we get. So if we get great proposals and they're looking all effective and connected, we're going to grant higher. If we don't get that, it might be a little lower. The second piece will come in the fall. I think we're looking at September, October timeframe, where the Schenectady County Food Council.
Hey, Eamon, Bill Patrick again. It's almost 9 o'clock.
Thank you. Where the Schenectady County Food Council will, based on the data they're collecting, based on the information that they are seeing and experiences in the community, will come to the Schenectady Foundation and make recommendations for grants. So that will be happening. The Food Council is already having conversations about this and developing priorities and the information to be able to present several projects in the fall. So that's kind of how it's going to be done. So just want to clarify that the $1 million is across 2 separate cycles. Okay. Great. Any questions at all about that at this point in time? You can either, bring your voice into the room, raise your hand, throw a question in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. Okay.
This is Tracy from the Food Bank. I have a question. So the Schenectady County Food Council recommendations, will they be based on a separate application process, or just what they know, or sort of LOIs that weren't invited to submit full proposals in the spring?
No, the council is looking at developing, based on what we're seeing, and also understanding the Food Council's role is primarily about uh, looking at the food system, right? So I don't believe, for example, that the food council funding is going to address sort of emergency needs or operating needs. It's going to be broader based, trying to address, barriers in the community, how we can move the needle on the bigger picture. And so they will be developing concepts, and then they will be alerting organizations in the community who seem to be a good fit for what they're advocating should be addressed. So it's first on the food council to kind of like wrestle with understanding what we need now, what we need also in the long term, and then they'll gather, proposals, they'll gather partners, and they'll come back to the foundation with recommendations. It's kind of, that's all being developed, but certainly the intent of the Food Council, because that funding came to us through ARPA, and so we've got to, address the requirements of the city with regard to spending ARPA money. But we've made commitments, and we are looking to, because the number is roughly $300,000 to $400,000. Probably there are going to be a smaller number of those, and they're likely to be multi-year grants.
Perfect. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to the remarkable Sophia Palusek to guide us through the remainder of the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So as Bob said, I'll kind of take you through the rest of the presentation that we have for you today. And so we're first going to start off with that broad aspect of impact statements. So at the foundation, we're all about our intended impact on the community, and we are looking to fund projects that elevate that help us lead and reach our intended impact. So guessing you're all here because you would like to apply for the Equitable Access to Food grants. So we're looking for those applicants that can demonstrate and reach our intended impact of Schenectady County being food secure and all residents having regular access to fresh, healthy food to nourish themselves and their families. So what is the process for this cycle? So, sorry about that. So the RFP is released. So that was released on February 7th. So we put out a call to all organizations asking them that our process has launched to submit LOIs, let us know your project ideas. So we're in the process of all of you submitting and writing your LOIs, and those are due March 5th. So this is just the basic overview of your project. And then once that is submitted, our staff reviews and approves or denies these LOIs, and those that are approved will be sent to the application round. So you'll know about these LOI decisions on or around March 14th.
Quick question, sorry to interrupt.
Mhm.
Your website says March 7th.
Oh, for letters of inquiry?
Yeah,
Or,
yes.
okay. I believe that it's on every other thing is March 5th, but I will make sure that those are correct and the dates are correct.
Thank you.
Yep. So once those approved LOIs are sent onto the application round, the application's released and you're able to then fill those out, and then applications will be submitted by April 2nd. So then from that round, we go to applicant interviews. So applicants are provided with some questions beforehand, and we do prep you before we actually go into that interview with our board and staff. So this, we're able to get more clarity on your project, ask any questions that we may not have understood, and really more deeply understand the root causes of the issues you're trying to address, and how your project will help you reach your impact and our impact. So then once this interview is completed, we have a meeting with our board, and that is where they make the grant making decisions. And then, oh, so applicant interviews, sorry, I forgot to say that those will be the week of April 21st through April 25th. And then those grant decisions of when you'll be notified on if your grant was approved or denied will be on May 2nd.
Yes.
Are there any questions at this point about the process or the cycle? Awesome. Oh, Tracy.
Tracy again, sorry. So does it make sense then that our projects, we target them to begin like in June? Or like, you know, or so is it a 1-year grant that would run from like June to May, you know, or should we just present what we're doing and hope for the best?
Well, I think, Tracy, on the duration of the grant, that's up to you to propose it. We talked about this a little bit on Tuesday. So we understand, so Sophia has done some surveying of past applicants and grantees and gotten some feedback in terms of, you know, what doesn't work for them in the process, you know, what are some pain points. And so we're kind of trying to balance this out. So we've listened. We know that, of course, all of you would prefer to get a multi-year grant. You know, what we have to wrestle with is our budget. So when we make a commitment, even if it's a 2 or even 3-year commitment, it all is accrued to our 2025 budget. We could pay it out over 3 years, and let's say it's 300,000. It all hits our budget in 2025. So we're trying to figure out what the right way is, because we also want to make multi-year grants, but making many more or more multi-year grants means fewer grants for us. So I hope you can appreciate, you know, our challenge, certainly our intention to do this, but it's going to have to be done in steps so that we can budget properly.
Perfect. And I wasn't even thinking of multi-year requests. I was just, you know, should we just talk about calendar year 2025 or June to December of 2025?
That's up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. If there's no other questions, I will proceed with the PowerPoint. Okay, great. And so now we will get into what's in the LOI. So if you haven't yet looked at this, we'll kind of go through the questions at this point. So as Bob said, I had sent out a survey to past grantees and applicants of the past several years, and we wanted to understand the pain points on both your side of the application as well as on our staff and board side, and how we can be responsive to both of those needs and make the process both easier for the applicants, you, and for us, the reviewers. And so through that, we kind of streamlined this a little bit, and we'll talk about some new sections that we added. So in the LOI, we have first project name. So that's pretty simple. Name your project, let us know. And then the second is this project stream selection. So we'll go over this more in the next slide. But there's 2 streams that you can kind of look at where we're tackling that food systems change and the ongoing operations support. So we first get into your project impact. So we talked about the foundation's impact, but what impact does your organization want to have on the community? What does the effect on the community, and what would that look like? So this is where you describe that. What improvements or changes to the community do you expect through this project? And this is where you explain the real improvements for the community. And then next we get into who will be served. So that can be what is your target population? Who is benefiting from your project? Who are those direct beneficiaries? And is there some sort of need that they have with that? And then project status. So this is more simple. Is the project new? Is it existing? It has the foundation previously supported it. Has it not? Those are just kind of check boxes, multiple choice. And then the project time frame. So this gets to what you were talking about, Tracy, is how long will it take to spend this money? This could be a year, 18 months, 2 years. Just how long will it take for your project to be completed? And then we go into the total project cost. So we ask that you don't apply for less than you need. Look at your full project, including those in-kind services of volunteers, donations, all of that as well. So this is your full project cost, not just the amount you're requesting from the foundation, as that is more specific in the next one. So this is the grant amount requested. So from that total project cost, what are you specifically asking the foundation for? And then in the next question is that specific amount you're asking for the foundation, what part of your project is that going to? We just want to deeper understand where these funds are going and how we are specifically uplifting your project and your organization. Are there any questions regarding the LOI questions at this point besides the project stream selection? Okay, great. So I will now go into what these streams look like. So to tackle these large systemic issues, we have to look past those surface level events that we see and get to those real root causes. But as we know, you can't do systems change without focusing on those day-to-day work as well. But you can't elicit systems change if you don't move towards that as well, compared to those day-to-day operations. So we looked at 2 possible streams for this funding. So first is that food systems change, and we look at these being grants that are multi-year, multi-organizational collaborations. So they're going to be transformative and collective efforts. So that collaboration aspect between organizations, because systemic barriers cannot be addressed by one individual or one organization. It's a real group effort. And then those ongoing operations support. So those could be, for instance, remind me of the referral program, stuff like that. Just ensuring that your organization can keep doing the work day to day, that we're serving those people that need the help right now, compared to that big systems change. Bob, did you have something to add?
Yeah, so ongoing operation support, could entail any number of things. It could be you need to improve your facility in some way to make it more conducive to access for clients. It could be, you want to increase your hours of operation, your days of operation to fill an identified gap in the food system. It could be any number of things that just help your operations continue to move forward and at least be maintained in this period of high inflation. So if you're wondering, are you thinking about food systems change or ongoing operation support, we invite you to bring your thoughts to us and we can give you a little feedback.
Okay, great. So I know that there could be some questions around that, so I'll open the floor if anyone has any specific questions, or is there anything that's unclear? Oh, yes, Robin?
For the ongoing operations support, would durable equipment be part of that as well? Say, you know, a new freezer or a vehicle or something like that?
Yes, that would be included in that stream.
Thanks.
Perfect. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, great. So now we'll get into what we're looking for. So we want projects that specifically address these areas. So I'll go into those more in depth. So community need. So has the applicant presented a compelling case for the project? Has it demonstrated its necessity and significance to the community? So that's what the community need is about. What case did you make for this, and how will this specifically affect the community and make improvements for them? And then when we get to the project impact, it's more about, is the project clear in the terms of measurable impact and the effect that it will have on the community? Do we easily understand it? Is it clear how this will specifically improve their lives? And then feasibility, we talk about first the financial aspect of the feasibility. So does the applicant have the financial means to complete and sustain this project? And then the feasibility of the organization. So do they have the capacity to take this on? Will they bring this project to fruition? Do they have the experience to make this project successful? And then we get into the collaborations. So that's those strategic partnerships and collective efforts. And then those other resources are those volunteer in kind services that play a role in the support, but aren't necessarily partner collaborations. So this is what we look for when we're reviewing applications and LOIs, just that applicants are demonstrating these key priority areas. So now you wrote your LO or your thing to submit an LOI. What is important to have in the back of your head while you're doing this? So first, we ask that you review all the materials on our website. So if you go to the schenectadyfoundation.org, there is a grants page, and on that page we have about the grants process, and in there we have our criteria and eligibility as well as outcome definitions, so that we all stay on the same page when we're talking about certain outcomes versus outputs versus goals. There's many organizations use words interchangeably. So if you look at that outcomes definitions sheet, you'll be able to, we'll have on the same page definition wise as we go forward. So we're staying on that same page. And then when you review those materials, please follow and read those guidelines very carefully. And if you're unsure, email us, ask questions. And so when you're writing your LOI, it's important to be clear about those narratives and include compelling stories from beneficiaries, just any data or stories that you can really share the impact that your project has. And then after you write it all, please proofread it. Make sure that it is up to your standards, that it's easy to read and there's no grammatical errors. And then we lastly ask you to think about the reviewers in the end of this. So we ask that you make it a pleasure to read. We want to learn about it and be excited about your project and really get behind it. Avoid run-on sentences. Just make it easy for us to read, as we get an influx of LOIs, and sometimes it's, once you're reading so many, they all kind of can mush together, or if there's long paragraphs. It's hard to differentiate sentences when they start, where they end, and it can all look like a blob of words. So we're asking that you avoid run-on sentences, use those shorter paragraphs, use spaces in between. And there's going to be additional spaces for uploading charts, data, and reports that can also help you tell your story, not just through those narrative questions. Is there any questions at this time regarding this slide on submitting your LOI?
Yeah, Sophia, this is Larry, Larry Lewis. And I've done a lot of grant writing, and a lot of times, some of the questions from the grantor seem somewhat redundant. So I find a lot of times I'm ending up writing the same thing more than once to answer the question. But again, there's a blank space there, and they want some verbiage to answer the question. So I don't know if other people on the call have the same issue, but I'm always struck by that. I mean, I guess that's sort of a black market. But geez, he already just said that. But on the other hand, you gotta answer the question. So I don't know if you have any advice there.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find this letter of inquiry redundant. Because we've been listening to our grantees, we're trying to streamline the process as much as we can. We've made some tweaks to this that we think will be better for applicants as well as for us. But if there's something as you go into the LOI, obviously that's already posted, that you find, okay, this seems duplicative, share that with us. And, we'll talk you through it.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions regarding the slide or anything else we have talked about so far? Great. So next we'll get into what support we have for applicants this year. So we're really working on these like little webinars, workshops for each RFP process. So on Tuesday, we held our overall Schenectady Foundation grants process launch. And so this is the first workshop that is specifically around a specific process. So we will be incorporating these for our main competitive grants. So in the next slide, we'll get into the next meeting times for the application orientation. But so those will be uploaded once we get to that grant cycle, and then we'll be also offering regular office hours. So Tuesdays at 11 a.m. and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. I'll be available at those times. If you would like to shoot emails, get on a call with me, I will have those times blocked off specifically for Schenectady Foundation grant work and assistance. But that is not to prohibit you from reaching out to me at any time. Contact me through email, phone, and I will be able to assist you at any time. I also ask that you just let me know ahead of time if you would like to have a Zoom call, just so that I make sure that the time's both on our calendars for that. And then,
just can you clarify perhaps what the span of time is for the office hours?
Oh, yeah. So it's about an hour to 2 hours. I'll be available depending on interest. So I just ask that you let me know ahead of time. That's pretty much it. Just so that we're all set to have our conversation going forward. So then that third bullet, which is the foundation staff comments. So they're visible in both the LOI and application process. So as we're reviewing LOIs, it happens in real time. So if we have specific questions on a section of your LOI, we're able to comment on that and send it back to you if we would like further clarification or if we would like you to expand on a part a bit more. So we will be utilizing those. And then webinars and instructional videos about specific topics. So from that survey that I put out that I mentioned before, we noticed that there was some trouble around budget forms and project outcomes and activities versus outputs, all of that. So we will be creating some instructional videos that will live on our website specifically around those topics. So there'll be one dedicated to the budget form, how to fill that out. And so those will live on our website and you're able to reference those at any time. So those should be coming out before the actual application round because in the LOI, we're not asking for a full budget form at this time. Are there any questions around applicant support?
Just grateful that there's so much of it.
Awesome. Glad, we're trying to add some stuff in, help you guys out. And so next we'll get into our timeline for this year. So as we said, those RFPs were released on February 7th. On Tuesday, we held our general grant orientation. And then today we're holding our letter of inquiry orientation. So then those LOIs are due March 5th. And we went through that kind of cycle and we talked about the grants process. And our next grant application orientation will be on March 19th at 9 a.m. So just keep that in your calendars as a hold. And this is the general timeline that we talked about earlier for the process. Is there any questions on this? Okay, great. So that is all that I have for you today regarding what is in the LOI, any information that we have about this process. And as I said, that grant application orientation is at March 19th at 9 a.m. via Zoom. Here is my contact information, and I will drop my email in the chat, as sometimes it is not the easiest to spell. And with that, I'll open the floor for any questions that anyone has or sections you would like to talk through. And we're just here to help in this last 30 minutes. I know that was quick, and if we can get you on your way earlier, love to add some time back into your schedules, but opening it up for the floor for anyone to speak at this time.
Hi, this is Sarah from the food pantries. For that second round of funding that you're talking about with the Food Policy Council, will there be info sessions as that date gets closer for that? Or like more information as that time approaches? Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get some information out to organizations as well as the community, letting them know that this is going on.
Gotcha. And then does being say you're accepted as you get awarded during this first round, does that exclude you from funding from that, or are they sort of separate in that way?
They're sort of separate in that way, I believe. It really depends on the project specifically. Carmel, we do not know specific dates yet. As soon as we do, we will let everyone know.
Thank you.
Carmel?
Yes, we received a grant from the Schenectady Foundation the last time, which enabled us to open every Saturday instead of just one Saturday a month. Obviously, that funding ran out a long time ago for us. Is it possible, or, would it be okay to ask for funding to try to get back to making sure that we can remain open on Saturdays? We've obviously, since starting that process, had a significant, well, we have a significant increase overall, as everybody is, but, we've seen huge numbers of people now that are coming in on Saturdays. So it was clearly, the right thing to do in terms of our, people that are working, being able to come in on Saturdays. But is that, would that qualify to be able to try to get continued funding for that process? We're probably in a position now where we're going to have to decide if we're going to be able to remain open on the Saturday. So so that's, does that seem like a valid ask or
Carmel,
yeah,
so that would be in the ongoing operations support.
yeah.
Frame.
Mhm.
So there,
Mhm.
that's where you would propose.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sophia, is there a parameter for grant amounts? I mean, so you don't go looking for way more than you people are looking to give out, or is there some, how's that decided?
Oh, Sophia, unmute yourself.
Sorry, there was a sirens going on behind me, so I had to mute myself for a second. But Tom, so on our eligibility form on our website, there is one caveat that we ask organizations that if you're asking for more than 200,000, that you come to us ahead of time so that we can have that conversation with you about how we can kind of plan out our funding for the year, as that is a big portion of our budget. So we want to make sure that we're able to support you in a way that we can plan for that. I believe last year our lowest grant, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, was 25,000, and the average was 75,000 was median, and the average was 100,000.
That helps, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions at this time? Great. Like I said, please reach out to me if you have any questions through email, phone. I'm here to support you in any way. And with that, I hope that everyone has a great day and you get some time back in your schedule. So thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.